Let me share an example of how this rippling begins and reverberates when one righteous Latter-day Saint woman acts upon her knowledge that Jesus is the Christ and the gospel has been restored. In 1841, Dan Jones, a Welsh immigrant, was the captain of one of the smallest registered boats carrying people and freight on the upper Mississippi River. It seems more than coincidence to me that his boat was named the Ripple. Among his passengers were members of an obscure new church, the Church of Jesus Christ of Latter-day Saints. During his journeys, Dan Jones began to hear criticisms of these Mormons. Because he had ferried many of them, he had talked with them and observed their behavior. He found them to be good people, kind, honest, and hardworking. The negative comments and writings about these people did not match up with what he had experienced in his dealings with them. Through a careful investigation of the accusations, he later wrote, I perceived clearly that it was impossible for them to be true, either because they overstated the case or contradicted themselves. One significant event in particular propelled Dan Jones from a careful observer to an active investigator of the church. He wrote this, purely by accident, there fell into my hands a letter which Emma Smith had written. I shall never forget the feelings which that letter caused me to have. I perceived clearly that not only did she believe the New Testament the same as I, but it also contained better counsel, more wisdom, and showed a more godly spirit than anything I had ever read. Well, inspired by Emma's words and example, Dan Jones sought to learn more about this church. In 1843, he was baptized in the Mississippi River and became one of the most influential missionaries in the history of the church, bringing hundreds of people to the gospel in his native Wales. In a very literal way, Emma Smith's influence continues to ripple through generations. Who can say how many hundreds, even thousands of the descendants of those Dan Jones introduced to the gospel may be listening to this meeting at this very hour. Each of us can act in ways that can ripple through a life as powerfully as Emma Smith's words did in the heart of Dan Jones. Each of us is just one person, but I remember the circles that one tiny pebble made across the vastness of Jackson Lake. Let us take to heart this scriptural encouragement. Be not weary in well-doing, for ye are laying the foundation of a great work, and out of small things proceedeth that which is great. In that most important of places, our homes, we learn best how it is that out of small things proceedeth that which is great.